welcome to episode 3 of the Lottie and Albert podcast. My name is Lindsay Nunes. I am a crochet designer and enthusiast living in the Cotswolds in the UK. You can find me elsewhere on the internet as Lottie and Albert on Instagram, where I'm most active, Ravelry, Etsy, my blog. If you fancy checking those out, I'll put all the links in the description box below, where I will also include the show notes. So hello and thank you if you're a returning viewer. It's lovely to see you again, and equally welcome to any new people who have stumbled across my blog, my podcast. This is a podcast. It's nice to see you too. I'm going to be talking about all things crochet, finished objects, things I've been buying, and works in progress. Today I've also got the results of last podcast giveaway, and I've got a yarn review, which is rather exciting. So let's crack on. The first thing I wanted to show you is my now completely finished, all the ends are sewn in, cowl that I've been working on. This was a corner to corner project that I talked about quite a lot last time, and yeah, it's not completely finished. I've given it, I don't know if you can see, what I'm calling a modified crab stitch border. So actually, this is a good indication if you're a new viewer of the sort of standard of my work. This side has a true crab stitch border. So crab stitch is essentially single crochet, US terms, or double crochet, UK terms, but worked in the opposite direction to normal. So if you're a right-hander like me, obviously normally in crochet you're working left to right. So this is worked right to left, which essentially creates this sort of twisted stitch. So it's really simple to do, but creates quite a pretty edge. So I did that on one side, and then I'm not really sure. I'm sure there is a stitch called this, or there is a name for this in books, but I decided to try a single crochet with a chain in between, and actually I really like the result that has given. So I don't know if you can see the slight difference. It's just created a little bit more of an open crab stitch with that single crochet in between. Oh, and the postman's coming. I really should remember, oh, it's shaking. I really should remember that the postman comes at, what time is it? 9:15 or whatever time it is on a Saturday. This basically happened last week. I'm sat in front of my, last time, 2 weeks ago, I'm sat in front of my front door. So embarrassing. I'll keep on talking about my cowl. So I was trying to tell you that I gave it a slightly different border, crab stitch, modified crab stitch, and this is what I've chosen, although as you can see I haven't gone back and undone this. This is what I've chosen. So this was using Debbie Bliss Eco. Now last time I said I thought it was a DK weight. I went back and had a look. It is actually a sport or 5-ply weight. So I mentioned last time that this wasn't particularly seasonal. It's June, it's the 11th of June here in the UK. It has cooled down a little bit. Some of you found it quite amusing that I thought 24-25 degrees was really hot. Those of you in warmer climes, understandably, I get that. But trust me, when you're not used to it, it's very warm. So I was questioning the fact that this was possibly not the most seasonal thing. I loved it, made it anyway, writing up the pattern. If anybody's interested, that's coming soon. And I mentioned that I really wanted to try it in super chunky, but clearly that is even less seasonal, but that is sort of what's happened. So I'll just show you that one now, because that's completely finished too. This is a super chunky version, and I love it. I've made it using the same pattern, exactly the same design. It's just obviously the fact that it's in super chunky means that I've got less, let me see if I can show you, I've got less crosses say square meters then. It's bigger, it's chunkier, and it's so good. Should we try putting it on? Last time didn't go totally wrong. This time might do. So yeah. How about that for June? It's June the 11th today. I'm really sorry if I've already said that. I've recorded so many little segments of this now. I'm not sure which I'm going to have to cut and put together. Ta-da! Perhaps you are in a colder climate, and perhaps you are in need of a super chunky cowl, Scandi inspired, corner to corner, geometric, modern. Any more buzzwords? I'm calling this the 2 seasons cowl, because one pattern, 2 seasons. Hey, do you like it? Do you see what I did there? This is what I love about crochet though. I suppose it's the same for knitting, but just the same pattern in different yarns has given entirely different thicknesses, results, looks, I suppose. I mean, I can't put them both on at the same time, but I might keep this on for a bit. It has gone a bit cooler here. It is probably not chunky, super chunky weather, but there we go. I made this scarf using Drops Andes. Now, if any of you are in the UK and you were subscribed to the Crochet boxes, you may know that this was one of the yarns that came 1 month, Drops Andes, and I hadn't used it before. And actually the pattern that came with the yarn, we got 2 balls of it, and I got this grey colour. I think some people got slightly different colours. That was a cowl as well. I didn't immediately make it. In fact, my track record, the crochet boxes, for anybody who doesn't realise or doesn't know, were a crochet subscription box, which I think in theory are still running, but they've been on a break now for quite a few months. So whether or not they will start up again soon. I think my subscription is still live, but basically each month a sort of shoebox size postal box would arrive with surprises inside. So yarns, hooks, little like postcards, progress keepers. Each month it was different, and Lucy, who put them together, I'll put the Instagram account for crochet boxes below if anybody wants to just have a look back and see what was included. Just did an amazing job at putting together all these gorgeous yarns and products, and I loved getting them, but I had a terrible track record for making anything from them. In fact, I ran an Instagram 2-week challenge not too long ago called Whipaholics Anonymous, because anybody who knows me will or may have realised by now I'm not a particularly good starter finisher, and I like starting but finishing I find a little bit harder, and to be honest, I just enjoyed doing flat lays with everything that came in the crochet boxes, which is probably quite an expensive, you know, £25 a month flat lay. But it's taken me a while, but now look, I have found a project for my gorgeous Drops Andes. So Drops Andes is, as I said, a super chunky yarn. The label calls for 9mm. I actually used a 10mm hook because I just have a really tight gauge and I tend to crochet tightly. So I've learned that I pretty much need to just go up a hook size. About a hook size on any kind of recommendations. It is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. And do you know what I mean when I say it's got that really good woolly smell? Like not an off-putting animal smell, but like just that kind of earthy goodness. It's a bit like, do you smell books? Is that a thing? Have I just now sound really weird? I mean, not old dusty books, but like new books or new wool yarn. Well, it's wool, isn't it? Not wool yarn. Wool just smells good. And I historically I've been crocheting a few years. I don't tend to buy really expensive yarns. So I just sort of started out and bought acrylics, and in fact I bought really cheap acrylics, and then kind of realised actually maybe I would like to get at least mid-range acrylics, but I'm not a massive yarn snob or really even that knowledgeable about really high-end yarns, so I do tend to just buy acrylic yarns or cheap yarns, basic yarns, and I think maybe that's partly because projects I've been making I haven't really known what was suitable, and I'm still learning that. So for me to actually use something that is, as I said, like 100% wool based, that's unusual. So I really enjoyed that. I'm enjoying the smell. I really hope I'm not weirding anybody out. I hope you can understand. So yeah, the 2 Seasons cowl is what I'm calling it. I've also taken some really detailed photo tutorials of the corner to corner process and how it works, because I think it's one of those I mentioned last time. As soon as you get your head around it, it clicks. But when you do it the first time, it's maybe just a different way of working to normal rows or in the round. You're essentially creating blocks using treble crochets or double crochets in the US, which you're then worked across the diagonal, and each time you come back up or down a row, you're sort of slip stitching one group of trebles into another block from the row before. But yeah, I highly recommend the crochet. I don't know why I always sit on a rocking chair, I'm really sorry. I highly recommend corner to corner, and if you'd like to make this specific pattern, then it should hopefully be released this week. I should hopefully get some time. I've done all the photos, I've written it up, it literally just needs compiling. I've also taken some slightly questionable photos of myself wearing both cowls. It's really hard to know. I've gone for some staring off into the distance shots. I've gone for some laughing shots. And I also tried, really you don't want to see my face, do you? You want to see the cowl. Is that better? But it's finding that balance in photos when you're just photographing yourself. Yeah. I feel I may get better at it. Some people do it really well, so I maybe just need to practice. I'm going to take this off now. It's probably made my neck really red because I've been rubbing it around. Let's put this one on instead. So there we are. That is my main finished objects. I also wanted to, just talk while I'm putting cowls on. I also wanted to, so here's how different it looks in the lighter weight, a lot more loose and lightweight and spring-like. I just wanted to mention my giveaway from last time, where I gave away, I had 2 Cotton Flowers gradient yarns to give away, and the winner of the YouTube entry was Sally's Backyard. So congratulations, we have already spoken, and that is being posted out to you. I hope you enjoy it, Sally. I should think that your name is Sally. I hope you enjoy it, and be sure to share some pictures with us of what you make, and then I can share it here on the podcast. I think that would be really nice. And I also selected a winner from my Instagram page. So many of you have said how much you like the yarns and how you're thinking of buying one anyway, or seeing if you could get an alternative. And then actually one person said that they'd visited the Cotton Flowers yarn site. So the supplier that I have used is based in Germany. And it said that she was taking a break, or that she was on pause. So last time I did actually film a little section about alternatives, but I cut it because I was just rambling for too long and my video was getting too long. So I thought I'd try and include it this time instead, in case anybody would really like a gradient yarn, but they're not sure, if you're based in a different country, what's easiest to get hold of. And very helpfully, this month's issue of Simply Crochet, which is, I'm just reading it, issue 58, has sort of done a little roundup for us. So I'm just going to basically read out what they've recommended. Now, I think the most similar ones to the Cotton Flowers gradient yarns that I was sharing are probably the Creative Cotton by Rico. So that's a cotton acrylic blend, and that's a 200 gram, and that's available from lovecrochet.com. So anywhere that lovecrochet.com ships to, you're going to be able to get hold of that. So that's got the really sort of soft and subtle colour change, a bit like the Cotton Flowers yarns. Another one is Unique by Berger. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Which again is quite a delicate colour change. However, this one is, I actually might not be able to see, 100% merino wool DK. So that was not a cotton, but it's got a very similar colour section. Some of the others you're probably familiar with: Candy Swirl by Stylecraft, Line Brand's Mandala yarns, but I mean they're a little bit of a harsher. They're still nice to use if you would like to use those. Then they're still obviously gradient yarn cakes, but they're maybe not a softer colour change. And then the last one that I thought, this is quite a bright one, but the Sheepsies Whirls, which I think again are quite widely available. This is Vix Brown, who, she of the crochet socks, who I keep banging on about, also does amazing yarns. So yeah, if you want a more detailed review, then Simply Crochet issue 58 has got all the details. But hopefully, yeah, if you can get hold of a Rico or a Sheepsies, then they've got very similar cotton blends to the Cotton Flowers yarns from Germany that I was talking about. I think that's probably, unfortunately, about it for finished objects this episode. So I'm going to move on to new things. I don't really have many new things, which is sad, isn't it? Sad state of affairs. So I'm going to show you, bear with me while I just pause and move the camera. Sorry, hopefully that's a bit better. I'm just sort of sat in direct sunlight and I think it's doing strange things to the camera. I do have some new hooks, which were, this isn't like a promotion, it's just a coincidence, free with Simply Crochet, which are just some really nice little bamboo hooks. So we got a 3, 3.5, a 5, a 6. I think there's also an 8 somewhere, and the 10 is what I used for my super chunky version of the 2 Seasons cowl. I don't know, what do all of you use? Do you use bamboo? Do you use metal? Do you use just the basics or the ergonomics? I typically just tend to use, what was I want to say, aluminium. I just tend to use metal hooks, but actually I really enjoyed using the natural wood with my alpaca blend for the Andes super chunky cowl. Felt something quite appropriate about using all natural materials together. Nice. And they do just, I mean, these are just like a super cheap, presumably because they're a giveaway with a magazine, just a super cheap, but yeah, I did quite enjoy using them for a change. So let me know if you have any hook recommendations, because as I said, I've been crocheting a few years, and I just started out with cheapest yarn, cheapest hooks, but maybe it does make a difference. Do you think it makes a difference having more expensive hooks? Are there any brands that you swear by? Like, let me know, and maybe I can do more detailed comparison or review than just telling you about my free cheap hooks. I did promise last time that I would try and make this a little bit more professional, and a couple of people said, don't worry, we just like you chatting about yarn, so I'm gonna hope that's the case and just keep on chatting about cheap and free stuff. and hope that you don't mind. So those are hooks. I also have some new yarn, which is really exciting because I'm just looking on the table in front of me and one's disappeared. It's gone underneath. Here we go. I've been sent some yarn to review. Now, would you take a look at these? They're so squishy. Now, when I say review, I'm not being paid or anything. It's not a sponsored post. hashtag sponsored. But I have been working a little bit with Hobbycraft and the Knitcraft HQ blog section of their website. I did a free pattern for them earlier in the year, which is still available, and I'll mention later in a related topic. But yeah, they mentioned that they had some new yarns that they wanted reviewing, and so they sent me some. Sorry about the sound, but can you see? They are like clouds, little squishy clouds. This is by Fildar, so I decided, in a bid to actually know what I was talking about, to look up, and Fildar, as I understand it, are a really long-standing company. They were formed in 1903, and I think they used to have a lot of yarns on the UK market, sort of going back 20-30 years, but I think they I don't know, scaled down or just changed their sales operations, whatever. For a while you couldn't really get Fildar in the UK, but now they're a lot more around, they're a lot more available, and yeah, this is some new yarn from them. So it's Fil Nuage. I kind of wish I hadn't been sent French yarn to review, because as I said, I'm just terrible. Legerette, Legerette. Who even knows? Somebody tell me. This is 72% merino wool and 28% nylon, and the construction is really interesting because this is where I could really do with like fancy DSLR focus rather than just my iPhone on front camera, because I don't think you're going to be able to see, but I'm going to hold it here for a while anyway. The construction is almost like a little knitted kind of honeycomb inner, which presumably is the polyamide element, and then the merino wool is like a sort of fluffy halo around the outside, which is I think a fairly typical construction technique. But what it means is you've actually got a really strong yarn for a merino yarn, and also this is classed, I believe, in the super chunky range. So though it's not quite as bulky as like the drop sandies that I was using a 10mm hook for, this label for the Fil Nuage calls for a 5.5 to 6. So I've got sent quite a few balls. I've actually worked up a little swatch based on a design that I'm super excited about but can't really share with you yet, using both of them. And I used a 7mm hook, which has given me, sorry about the sunlight, it's just given me quite a loose effect on this for the tapestry. But as I said, I quite often find I have to go up a hook size because of how I crochet. Am I alone? Anybody else a tight crocheter? I feel like sometimes I make things and then I look online at other people's versions, and their stitches almost look completely different because they're so much more open or yeah, looser. Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it's not an error, is it? It's just people crochet differently, and I feel a little bit like you see again and again people saying online, oh, I started crocheting when I was younger, but you know, my auntie said I was holding the hook wrong, so I gave up, and now I've come back to it and I just hold the hook same and it works and it's fine. Everybody has a different style, everybody holds it slightly differently, and you even see some knitters who still yarn over their hook in the same way that they would with knitting. If it works, then it works. So I've used 7mm with this yarn, and it's really soft. I forgot to mention that. Again, in comparison to the drop sandies, which is lovely and super chunky and nice, you maybe wouldn't want it against your skin all day. I don't think that you'd have the same issue with this. It's really non-itchy and soft in the merino category. So this colourway is called Sue. And this colourway is Flocon, which I believe, my limited memory, may or may not mean snowflake. So these yarns have been sent to review. They're from Filled Art. They're really soft, they're really light. These are 50-gram balls, but as I said, they're quite squishy and they worked out really nicely. The only thing that I would maybe recommend if you're using it, I worked from the middle of the ball, because I think, is that the proper way? I don't know. Normally with just cheaper acrylics I just work from the outside, but I thought I'll work from the middle. But almost where it was, the friction was created, I didn't get any crazy knots, but there was a small amount of kind of catching and tangling, and equally I don't think that this would frog particularly well. If you did a large piece and then tried to rip it back, I think you would maybe have some issues. I did manage to frog back a few sections on the secret scarf that I'm working on. Damn it, I said it was a scarf. It's not so secret now, is it? Anyway, seasonal crochet. I did manage to frog back a few small sections, but yeah, I suppose that's just the nature of the beast, working with working with more natural fibres. So there were another 2 yarns in the package that I was sent from Knitcraft HQ. Again, all Filled Art. This one is Fil Flocon, and this is again a mix, so it's 42% premium acrylic, 26% virgin wool, 18% alpaca, and 14% polyamide. And look at this one. Again, I feel like I'm having issues with the light, so sorry about that. Isn't it good? Also smells great. So this is again a slightly different look and feel. It's a lot more fibrous and sort of natural in its look. Perfect for kind of, you know, winter wear and cowls and things that you make in June and can't wear for another 6 months. This is again 50 grams. It is called Carbon, and I haven't made anything with this one yet to show you, but this calls for slightly bigger hooks, so it's again I think a sort of super chunky yarn, 6.5 to 7, which is maybe slightly surprising because it almost feels thinner, but I suppose it's so that you're not completely squashing out or losing the shaping of all these natural fibres. So I'm going to take this off now, I'm getting really warm. Last but not least, I've got some super sparkly, oh look, maybe the sunlight is helping. This is again a Filled Art, and it's Myriad, 25 grams, polyamide and polyester, champagne, ooh, champagne colourway, and if you can't tell, it's sparkly gold yarn. This is a lot thinner, 3.5, and this one is machine washable obviously because it's man-made fibres. So yeah, what shall I make with this? I think I should just work 6 months ahead, because all I can think of this is Christmas. Or do any of you, are any of you familiar with Sylvia Margaret Designs? She's one of the Instagram accounts I follow. She makes the most amazing, I'll try and insert a picture while I'm talking, amazing collars and necklaces using thinner yarns such as this. She's made a fantastic pineapple collar. I feel something like this would be great for that. So yeah, these yarns are presumably all available, or going to be available, on a Hobbycrafts website, who Knitcraft HQ are the blog for. And yeah, check out Filled Art because they do have a great range of different cottons. They've got a raffia yarn, they've got chunkier yarns, natural yarns. They're covering all bases. So that's my yarn review. I hope it was helpful. I kind of tried to talk about the things that I would like to know about yarn, but stay tuned next time because I will show you what I've been making with the inspiration that I've had for them. In fact, I had an idea in my head of something that I'd like to try to make, and when these yarns arrived, I couldn't quite believe it, because they're just perfect for what I had in mind that I wanted to make. So that was my yarn review. Works in progress. Unfortunately, this nearly made it into the finished objects section, but not quite. It's my butterfly blanket. But I don't know if you can see the progress I've made. I've now used up all of the yarn, and the only reason that it is not in the finished object category is because I haven't blocked it, and also I've had a slight yarn chicken disaster. So this is my last round. I've ended up here, and I've got all of the rest of this to go. So what I decided to do in the end, sorry about the light, for my border was just, I did 2 rows of double crochet, UK double crochet, and I did another row of trebles, another row of doubles, and then I did the same as I did on my cowls. In fact, I think this is where I tried it first. I was working on them all in the same sort of time period with the modified crab stitch, because I originally was going to do, I think I said, a pom-pom border for this, and then actually it just felt too fussy with the butterflies. They need to be the main focus. I thought, should I just hold it like this? They need to be the main focus. They you know, they're the star of the show. I decided that I didn't need to detract from it with a really fussy border, but crab stitch almost felt too tight. Like I wanted it to just feel a little bit more loose and fluid. So that was where I experimented with putting just the chain one in between each crab stitch, and it came out with this, yeah, modified crab stitch, which I then liked so much I used it on my cows as well. But yeah, so many people said, I think I asked on Instagram a while ago when I posted, like, what border should I use? I can't decide, everything seems too fussy. Loads of people just said crab stitch. It is just a kind of good go-to, simple finisher. Maybe you feel that you don't always need a border. What do you think? Do you always need a border? Sometimes it's nice, I suppose, just to let the stitches show for themselves and not worry too much about over fussing it. But yeah, this is again using one of the Cotton Flowers yarns, a gradient cake, so it's all one piece. It starts out, as you can see, light grey, goes to pink, and then finishes off in a nice dark grey. This is an 8-ply, so it's got a really nice weight to it. I think that's almost my second to maybe how soft the colour change is. It's one of my favourite things about this blanket is its weight. Is that a weird thing to say? When I was thinking about it and thinking about what I was going to say in this podcast, I remembered reading something about weighted blankets being used to like treat people with depression, which kind of makes sense. There's something nice about, I mean, obviously it's a baby blanket, so maybe that's irrelevant, but there's something nice about the weight of it. I think sometimes when you use like really cheap acrylic yarns, they're great and the colours are great and they serve a purpose and they're washable. Well, I suppose cotton's washable really well too, but they're just that bit lighter, and that's great for some projects. But yeah, I don't know how I can best show it, because obviously this is just a video, but the weight is good, the drape is good, and I'm going to block it out, which will hopefully bring out why do I end up in these weird positions? Hopefully bring out the butterflies even more, and then it will be ready to gift to my friend. I don't know if this, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. My poor friend, she, her baby's been breech from about 25 weeks to 39 weeks. Baby was breech, baby was still breech. They tried a few things, baby was still breech. They said to her, essentially, we're going to have to give you a C-section. Fine. you know, she prepared herself for it. She knew it was going to happen. It's her second baby. She had a scan on the Friday. Baby was still breech. So they said, okay, come in Monday for your pre-op. She came in on Monday and the baby had turned, which is great and lovely in so many ways. But she went in that morning fully expecting to bring her baby home that afternoon, and baby is still waiting. But that's okay, because baby's blanket is not finished yet either. Maybe that's why. Maybe when I finish the blanket she'll go into labour. I'll have to let you know next time if that's happened or not. So that's one of my work in progresses. And the last thing that I wanted to show you in terms of works in progress is I have started a new thing. Oh, look, I've just found another bamboo hook in there. So, I've started a new project of sorts. So I think I mentioned that we've recently moved house, which unfortunately brought to light the full extent of my craft stash. Now I've got a lot of yarn. Well, actually I say a medium amount of yarn, not as much as some people have on, you know, that you see on YouTube and on Instagram. But I have ample amounts of yarn to make projects. I also have lots of fabric, and as my husband rather politely said, far be it from me to tell you what you can or can't do crafts with, but you have a lot of things for potential crafts, which is true. I do have a box of, and it's like a nice storage box, it's not just like a random cardboard box, but I have a box full of like broken crockery for when I'm going to make a mosaic one day, because I'm going to make a mosaic from, you know, we got some mugs for like our wedding which have got beautiful designs on and they're smashed. Why would I throw them away when I'm going to make a mosaic one day? Yeah, and it goes on like that. Paper crafts, embroidery, old cross-stitch stuff, and I was quite ruthless. I did have a really big clear out of all my sort of patchworking fabric that people had given me, and like, unless I really loved it, I got rid of it. And equally, like, big lengths of material that I was just unlikely to make anything out of, I passed on to like local schools for their arts and crafts department. So I feel like I did really well, but the fact of the matter is I still have a lot of craft supplies and I still have a lot of yarn, and a lot of it is acrylics and it's just yarn ends. So I decided I needed to do a scrap project to use up all the odds and sods and half balls of yarn. So I was looking around and I decided I wanted to do a sort of crochet motif project in order to, you know, use up small things. There are some really amazing scrap projects out there that people just join the yarn and they just do rows of grannies, or they do there's like a knitting one which I see quite a lot, which is called the Cozy Memories blanket, and I've seen kind of crochet versions of that. That's more sort of sock weight yarn where you've got the ends after making socks and you make little squares and sort of knit them together as you go. So I've seen some kind of crochet equivalent ones of those as well. And I couldn't decide on what motif I wanted to do. I wanted something that was slightly mindless, that I could just do a few, put it away for a month or two, do a few more, and that wouldn't require too much thinking. And I kind of ummed and ahed over doing a hexie project or like mini triangles and joining them all, but I equally have about 4 or 5 just balls of DK weight white acrylic yarn, and I kind of wanted to do a project that had quite a bit of white in as well to break up the colours. And then it occurred to me that I had the perfect pattern myself to use. So I've started making a smaller version of my atomic, oh sorry, I just knocked the camera, atomic flowers blanket. So this is how it starts, with a solid centre, and then it goes up to a flower, and then up to the square. So they're just a bit of fun. They're a kind of mid-century inspired project, and I have chosen to use all the bright colours. What do you think? Do you like it? I've got, again, this is just how do you work? This is just how my brain works. Again, I see so many people, they make all their centres, and then they make all their next rounds, and then they do all their borders. My brain doesn't work like that. I just make them all at the same time. And when I get bored with making centres, I do a bit more, and then I do a bit more. So hopefully, when these are all together, these are going to go in my daughter's room. She really likes yellow, so I've tried to include as many yellows as possible. Here's a little jar of odds and sods, and I've got some more down here. These are the kind of colours I'm looking at using. This one might come out, I'm not sure. So yeah, just using up scraps. And that's my atomic flower blanket base that I did for Knit Craft HQ. But I'll just show you the final blanket. And again, this is a really good demonstration of how different size yarn can result in such different looking projects. Isn't it so cute compared to that? This was the final blanket, and was made using Debbie Bliss Odan or Odin, I don't know how you say it, but yeah, that's the finished blanket that I made for Knit Craft HQ. That is a free pattern on my blog, which you can find the details for below if you want to make it, and it's also up on the Hobbycraft blog, so you can find it by googling atomic flower blanket or following the links below. And actually at the moment, I saw on Friday they posted they're doing a bundle where you can buy all the yarns for this, and like, again, I feel like this is where my heart belongs with super chunky fast to make projects. But Hobbycraft are currently selling a kit to make the blanket for £50. So you can get all the 5 or 6 different yarns, the hook and the pattern. Well, the pattern's free, but yeah, check out the Knit Craft HQ page if you want to see the kit or to buy the yarn. But yeah, I've started making a smaller version just using DK weight scraps, which is going to be a blanket for my daughter's room. She's 3. The only difference I've done with these is I have just done an extra row of double crochet, an extra row of trebles to give it that extra square. You can see here I've just got them joined at the corners, and on here I've added in an extra, that yellow's I've added in an extra row just to give a bit more of a white space around. So that's my current scrap blanket. Don't expect to see that finished in 2 weeks' time. I think it'll be one of those that I just kind of pick up and put down. But sometimes it's nice to have those slow projects, isn't it, that you just work on. And I mean, it depends how much yarn you keep or what you decide is not enough. But these little centres are just 2 rounds. The central round is 12 stitches, and then this round is 24 stitches. So you can use up really small little lengths of yarn with that, and then obviously it was slightly more required for the petals, whichever round you want to see it. So yeah, that's my last work in progress to show you. I mean, I do have others, but that's probably enough, or they're the main ones that I'm working on anyway. The only last thing that I wanted to mention was that my I'm not going to try and get it out, maybe I should. My Lottie Albert boho blanket is now completely finished, and the pattern is up if anybody wants to make it. I thought it would be really nice to give you guys a discount, and because you've been so involved in the making, in the process, and seeing me make it, if you fancy making it, there's a 50% discount just for you guys, just for you, my podcast viewers. If you go to my Etsy and go to put it in your basket, or however it works, go to checkout, it'll give you the option to enter a discount code. So if you enter the code podcast50, then that will give you 50% off the pattern. So yeah, let me know, and if you do make anything, the Atomic Flower Blanket or this or the Two Seasons cowl when they came out, I would love to see like what colours you choose, your variations. So tag me if you post on Instagram or send me a message and let me know, because I really loved people making my designs. Free designs just gives me such a buzz, it makes me really happy. So yeah, there we go, that's my finished objects, new things and whips. Hopefully you have enjoyed watching today. If you have enjoyed it, then do give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. That would be amazing and it would really help me. And if you'd like to see more videos, I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. If not, you can keep up to date with what I'm doing on Instagram. I post most days on Instagram. And I've got some really exciting things coming up, working with Knitcraft HQ and also Molly Makes, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to be doing a pattern for them. So yeah, keep watching. I'll see you again soon, and if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to know or that you'd like me to talk about in more detail, leave a comment below as well, because I love reading all your comments. And you're just also nice and kind and supportive of my slightly hazardous podcast where things get dropped and I have to stop and pause while my postman arrives. So yeah, thank you so much for your support and for watching, and I will see you again in 2 weeks. Bye bye!